Let's, though, start with what US Vice President Mike Pence is up to today. He'll be meeting President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, in Brussels. And they're going to try to mend fences after throwing rhetorical firecrackers at each other in recent weeks. While Mr. Tusk described Trump as a threat to Europe, Mr. Trump's praised the UK's decision to leave the Union and angered many nations with his travel ban. Between them, the US and the European Union are the world's two biggest trading blocs. Figures from 2014 putting the value of all goods and services traded between them at over $1 trillion. And that favoured the EU. It sold $91 billion more stuff to the USA than the other way around, something the Trump administration would like to change, no doubt. And since 2013, the EU and US have been trying to broker a free trade deal, the so-called Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, or TTIP, that would eliminate tariffs and reduce regulation. But President Trump said nothing about this since his election. Many, though, do expect TTIP to be scrapped, but there have been differences over currency valuations, car exports and financial regulations. Well, I'm joined by Singh, political strategist and former special advisor to the Democratic National Committee. Good morning.
Morning.
Now, interesting, because of course where we already outlined the sort of the various rhetoric going on between the United States and EU. It's not been particularly amicable by any means.
No.
How do you think today's discussions will go?
Well, we have to view Mike Pence's visit to Europe. So Mike Pence is the acceptable face and the tolerable face of the Trump administration. And we have to view this visit, the Vice President's visit to Europe, in the context of, one, trying to reassure European allies that America is committed to NATO, but also that Mike Pence is a safe pair of hands, and that for all of candidate Trump's rhetoric on the campaign trail about whether NATO is obsolete or about the EU or about Brexit, actually there's a team in place, and Mike Pence is a core part of that team.
Now, we've outlined the sort of how important the two parts of the world are to each other in terms of trade, but actually today's talks are more likely to be about security and, as you mentioned, NATO.
Absolutely. Numerous American presidents since the 1970s have railed against what they see as the freeloading of European allies with regards to defense budgets and military spending. And it's not illogical to see that it's probably not fair for American and British taxpayers to foot the expense for NATO. There's only 4 countries within the 28-member NATO grouping that are actually have committed to spending 2% of their annual budgets on defense spending, and only 4 countries are actually matching or meeting that self-imposed kind of number.
But today, although they're going to talk about security, they're going to talk about NATO, that kind of thing, it does lay important foundations, doesn't it, for future relations between the US and Europe?
Absolutely.
And what can we say about how that will go in terms of trade?
We don't know. I mean, the US-EU relationship right now is kind of mired by uncertainty. No one really knows what's happening. No one really knows how President Trump will treat any given issue on any given day. The U.S. Trade Representative has just gone through the confirmation process. He's a staunch Reaganite free trade proponent, and there's hope that actually there's cause for optimism with people like Mike Pence, who are seen as ardent, staunch free trade believers. And there's hope. There's cause for hope, but we just don't know at this point.
All right. Uncertainty looms large. Thank you very much indeed, Jack, for coming in. We appreciate your analysis.